to walk with me when I'm on my lonesome journey. Lord, I want Jesus. I want Jesus to walk with me. Well, I die the day now for tell Huna something about my ancestor them. I can feel the presence day the day with me now, because I know it'll watch over me. I grew up not knowing where I came from, or how I got here, and why am I being treated as less than a human. You know, our grandmother said, now the buckra children go there. And don't look buckra in the eye. So I can't go over there now for play with them buckra them. We knew that the whites were different, but we didn't really know why. So it was just another day in the life of a little Gullah girl. To walk with me. And they been ya on these hallowed and sacred grounds on this place we call Edisto Island, where I grew up. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Almost everybody that lived on this island were enslaved Africans, or Gullah people. And the island had nothing but plantation and all they call on the white gold, you know. The cotton and the rice and all the indigo. The enslaved Africans had to find a way to communicate. So that language was pretty much born here in America.
God tell us now y'all can eat all the trees in the garden, but the day you eat that tree in the middle of the garden, don't be day you die.
My generation is really the last generation to have direct contact with Gullah-speaking people, and Gullah was their only language.
You see a little red apple hanging on the tree?
And unless we pass it on to our children, then it will die out.
And Mom been bobtail ever since.
He strip everything from her. All the children that snatch out the arm, carry the baby this way, the mare that way, the pear that way. And they mean they had no sense of family at all. We have to let our young people know about the struggle. We have to go all the way back to Africa, where it all began, so that they know whose back they're standing on. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my God and be free and be free.
As the sun rises over the sea islands, casting a golden hue over the marshlands and tidal creeks, we begin our journey into the heart of the Gullah Geechee culture. These islands, stretching from the coasts of North Carolina down to Florida, hold the whispers of a resilient people whose roots reach deep into the soil of West and Central Africa. Centuries ago, our ancestors were taken from the shores of Africa, their lives forever changed by the brutal transatlantic slave trade. Yet, amidst the suffering, they carried with them the indomitable spirit and rich traditions of their homeland. The Gullah Geechee people, descendants of these resilient souls, have preserved a culture that echoes the rhythms of Africa. Arriving in the sea islands, the Gullah Geechee people found ways to adapt and thrive. They brought with them knowledge of rice cultivation, a skill that would become the backbone of their self-sufficiency. The lush landscapes of the islands provided a bounty of resources, from the fertile fields to the abundant waters. At the heart of Gullah Geechee, life is a vibrant tapestry of community and tradition. Their language, a Creole blend of English and African dialects, waves stories that span generations. In song and dance, they celebrate their heritage, with rhythms that echo the drumbeats of Africa. In the Gullah Geechee community, you will find traditions that mirror those of their African ancestors. The art of basket weaving, for instance, is a skill that has been preserved through generations. Sweetgrass baskets, intricately woven by hand, resemble the coiled baskets of West Africa, reflecting a deep connection to the past. The practice of the ring shout dances is another vivid example. Originating from West African circle dances, these spiritual rituals involve clapping, stomping, and chanting in a rhythmic circle, embodying a communal call and response that binds the community together in worship and celebration. Gullah Geechee cuisine is a flavorful testament to their African heritage. The traditional dishes of the Gullah Geechee people, such as gumbo, okra soup, and rice-based meals, are direct descendants of African culinary traditions. The use of locally grown vegetables, seafood, and spices creates flavors that are both familiar and profoundly rooted in their African ancestry. One of the cornerstones of Gullah Geechee cuisine is rice, a staple that connects them directly to their African roots. In the low country fields of the Sea Islands, they cultivated rice using techniques brought from West Africa, where rice has been a dietary mainstay for centuries. This skill not only ensured their survival, but also laid the foundation for a rich culinary tradition. Okra, a key ingredient in many Gullah Geechee dishes, also hails from Africa. Known as nkrumah in the Akan language, this versatile vegetable adds a unique texture and flavor to soups and stews, such as the beloved okra soup. Similarly, the dish known as gumbo has its roots in the African word kingombo, meaning okra, highlighting the deep culinary connections. Seafood plays a significant role in Gullah Geechee cuisine, just as it does in African coastal communities. From shrimp and fish to crabs and oysters, the bounty of the sea is skillfully prepared in dishes like shrimp and grits and crab stews, echoing the flavors of African coastal dishes. As the Civil War drew to a close, hope flickered for the newly emancipated Gullah Geechee people. In January 1865, Union General William Tecumseh Sherman issued Special Field Orders No. 15, promising the freed slaves 40 acres of land and a mule to work it. This promise was intended to provide the Gullah Geechee people with the means to build independent, self-sustaining lives on the very lands they had worked for generations. For a brief moment, the dream of land ownership seemed within reach. Many Gullah Geechee families settled on these lands, cultivating them with the skills they had brought from Africa and honed in America. The promise of 40 acres and a mule symbolized a new beginning, a chance to secure their future and preserve their heritage. However, this promise was short-lived. By the end of 1865, President Andrew Johnson rescinded Sherman's order, returning the land to its former Confederate owners. Despite this betrayal, the Gullah Geechee people remained resilient, fighting to retain their lands and their way of life. The Gullah Geechee people played a pivotal role in shaping African American culture and religion across the United States. Their traditions and ways of life, forged in the crucible of slavery and sustained in relative isolation, became cornerstones of a broader cultural identity. The spiritual practices of the Gullah Geechee people, deeply influenced by African religious customs, evolved into a distinctive form of worship that blended African spirituality with Christianity. The call and response style of preaching, the emotive and rhythmic expressions of faith, and the importance of community and music in worship all have roots in the Gullah Geechee experience. African American music, too, owes much to the Gullah Geechee heritage. The rhythms, chants, and spirituals that emerged from the Sea Islands became the foundation for genres like gospel, blues, jazz, and later, soul and hip-hop. These musical forms carry the emotional depth and communal spirit of Gullah Geechee traditions. The Civil War and emancipation brought new challenges and opportunities. Freed from the bonds of slavery, many Gullah Geechee people acquired land, creating a legacy of independence and resilience. Yet, the struggle was far from over, as segregation and economic pressures tested their strength. Today, the spirit of the Gullah Geechee people remains unbroken. Efforts to preserve their culture are seen in educational programs and community initiatives. As tourists visit the Sea Islands, they are invited to learn about and support the living history of this remarkable community. The story of the Gullah Geechee people is one of strength, resilience, and an unbroken connection to their African roots. As we reflect on their journey, we are reminded of the importance of preserving and honoring this rich cultural heritage. The Gullah Geechee people continue to stand as a testament to the enduring power of tradition and community.
The beat that we bought from our motherland, Africa, and I'm going to let them demonstrate their beat, and you all can join in if you like while we're singing. It's the same beat. All right. All right. This sticking board, this is a musical instrument, and the reason why we beat the sticking board is because they didn't have all the fancy drums and what have you. But we were coming along and our generations. So this is why we demonstrate this. This is a song that we're going to slow it down with. This is a song that the slaves can relate to because they were running away and they had to have a focal point of where to run. And we know the story about Harriet Tubman and we know the story about many others, but it's so significant that when they were running away, they would have to watch and see, what direction. They didn't have a compass, anything like that. So they had to watch a focal point, and that was watch that star and see how to run. When the star goes down in Western Hill, watch that star and see how to run. Oh, remember, watch that star, see how to run. Oh, remember, watch that star, see how to run. When the star goes down in the Western Hill, watch that star, see how to run. Sister Magda, watch that star, see how to run. Oh, Master, watch that star, see how to run. When the sun goes down in the Western Hill, watch that star, see how to run. My baby, watch that star, see how to run. My baby, watch that star, see how to run. When the sun goes down in the Western Hill, watch that star, see how to run. Watch that star, see how to run. Watch that star, see how to run. All right. When the sun goes down in the Western Hill, watch that star, see how to run. Oh, Magic, watch that star, see how to run. Sister Magic, watch that star, see how to run. When the sun goes down in the Western Hill, watch that star, see how to run. All right.